Here I wanted to show how to make sure your radial arm saw table is pretty darn flat. So what I've done is I've just got a magnetic, I'll just take this off, as a magnet on a piece of wood on micrometer. So I've just stuck that to the blade, and I've kind of just taken a clamp and just kind of clamp the blade to the blade guards. Unfortunately, most of this saw is aluminum, so the blade's about the only thing that's magnetic. So I put it there, and then what you could do is you just want to make sure this is particularly square. Now, if you could look in your manual and find out, you want to make the tabletop as level as you can. I suggest using a dial micrometer. You know, they never really showed you how to adjust those super accurately. But even then, you know, because you're dealing with wood and stuff like that, there are going to be some inaccuracies. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to have to turn this crank here. Sorry. Oh, maybe just loosen that up. So what I've done, how's that? So what I could do is, once I have that on there, I can pull this back, and you can see as I draw back, as I get further away, it gets a little sloppier, but most of your cuts are forward here. So if you're cutting like potatoes and things, I think it has moved maybe a little bit on me, but anyway, you can see it's pretty, maybe the first 6 inches, it's pretty stable, and then it maybe starts climbing up to, you know, maybe 10 thousandths or 1/100th of an inch, but still, you know, still very, very flat for woodworking. So you just put that back. So that's how you would actually flatten it. Now the question is how do you actually do that? Because it can be pretty fussy messing around with that. So the one thing I want to show, so this is, I think some people call these Mr. Sawdust tables, because it was in his book. But what this is this is actually 2 pieces of 3/4 inch MDF with some metal bars in them. But then you typically want a removable cover on there. One of the reasons, because it is a sacrificial fence, and I'm big into zero clearance, so this is actually a feature, not just a burden. But the thing is that you want it's nice to have it cutting down into the thing, but over the time, you know, as the saw goes out of accuracy, you should be able to see that you'll want to replace this, because it can be there. But the other thing is because you're using MDF will swell over time, so you do need to kind of protect it from moisture. So I actually ended up varnishing that. So that was a 1-inch piece of MDF that came with it new. And I don't know if you can see that, but on the quarter, you can see it mushrooming up because moisture over 20 years has slowly changed that. And, you know, in this groove, it'll change it too. And that's kind of why I decided to change the top, because I wasn't happy with how accurate I could keep the particular saw. But the other super nice thing about actually having, I think this is like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, I think it's 1/4 inch piece of plywood sitting on there, is it actually covers up what I use to level it. So what you could do is, you see there's screws everywhere that kind of hold it down, so you unscrew that and then measure it. But you know, it would still be a little off. Now you can actually, it's hard to get these anymore, but there is a sanding attachment you get to a radial arm saw, and you can flatten that with your arm. But what you should get it pretty close, within like maybe, you know, 10 to 20 thousandths, or I don't know, maybe 30 thousandths or whatever. But you're gonna notice some things. What you could do is painter's tape. So what this is about 4 to 5 thousandths of an inch thick. So what you could do is, where you're seeing variations, you can unscrew this, put the painter's tape down, and then put this back down, and you can dial in the flatness very well. And even if this moves over time, I can pull this up, throw a couple pieces of painter's tape on it. No one sees it or anything like that, and I can still keep it very, very flat. So it's another nice thing about actually having the cover. But I do think it's important to keep it covered. I did actually varnish even so this is actually shellac. So it comes up, it's kind of nice because MDF's ugly, but anyway, you can see it here. This is amber shellac, so it gives it a nice color to it. But anyway, it'll also give it some protection from swelling and keep that accuracy, because it is wood. Anyway, just one idea of keeping keeping your tabletop flat on your radial arm saw.